doctor, and I am board certified in internal medicine as well as holistic and anti-aging medicine. All right? I help people look and feel 10 years younger, and my philosophy is to find the root cause of the problem. What it means is that basically what I do is I treat the actual source of the patient's illnesses instead of just treating symptoms. So today's lecture is about bioidentical hormones. And the reason why I picked up bioidentical hormones is because I want to share with you how bioidentical hormones changed my life to the better. And I believe that if bioidentical hormones change my life to the better, so they can help you. And I will share my story with you, and I will let you know what happened. All right, so about 5 years ago, I consider myself healthy. I didn't smoke, didn't drink, I tried to eat right. You know, I worked in the hospital. I was actually doing 2 jobs as attending in a teaching hospital, and I was doing my private practice, and I felt marvelous. And one day I woke up with terrible feeling in my chest. You know, my chest was kind of, you know, like somebody was sitting on my chest, and I felt that my heart was racing. You know, I am a practicing physician. I practiced for many, many, many years, so immediately realized that something was really wrong that was going on with me. I checked my pulse and immediately realized that my pulse was irregular. I had irregular heartbeats. You know, in the first seconds, I really was not scared because I managed this situation for my patients many, many, many times. And I knew exactly what to be done. That's why first seconds I was not scared at all. I knew exactly what the protocol says, and I was not scared. So I knew exactly, so I need to check for the heart attack, I need to check for the clogged arteries, I need to check for cholesterol, the high blood pressure, etc., etc. So I started doing everything according to what I was taught in the medical school, what I was taught as well when I was getting my residency, and what I was taught every day in my medical practice, because I was working for the teaching hospital. I needed to teach my residents, etc., etc. So I knew what guidelines were telling me to do. So first, I needed to check if I had clogged arteries in the heart. So I went to the stress test to check for the clogged arteries. I was running in the treadmill, thinking that it has to show something. And guess what happened? My stress test came back normal, totally normal. So I thought that maybe something is wrong with my heart, maybe with my valves or anything like that. So I went to do the echocardiogram to see maybe I have a heart defect. And I still remember the technician who was doing my echocardiogram. Her name was Marie. And the patient is supposed to be happy when he is told that his test is good. So Marie told me, "Doc, you have a gorgeous heart." But the second thought, the first thought actually, what came to my mind was that, okay, so if my heart is good, stress test is good, what is it? Why do I have irregular heartbeats? So I thought maybe it was my cholesterol. I checked my cholesterol. It was a little bit elevated, but not that high to explain such a terrible condition as heartbeats, as irregular heartbeats. You know, I thought it may be my blood pressure. I started checking my blood pressure like crazy. Every 5 minutes check, every 5 minutes check. Guess what? My blood pressure was normal. So I went to cardiologist to decide what next, what needed to be done. And the guy looked at me and said, "You know, we don't actually know why you have this irregular heartbeats. What we do know is that you need to take blood thinners for the rest of your life to stay alive." I don't know if anybody is familiar with irregular heartbeats. They know that who has irregular heartbeats, it's a very high possibility to have a blood clot. So the patient who is having the irregular heartbeats, he's supposed to be on blood thinners. But the next thought that came to my mind was, there is a very high possibility of the side effects of the blood thinners, because I had a lot of patients who was, or I saw it when the patient, for example, who is on blood thinners, he falls down, hits his head. You know what? Guess what happens? He has bleeding in the brain, because the blood thinners are number one Coumadin. That the number one in the possibility of the side effects. The patients, have horrible bleedings. I saw a lot of patients. So I thought, you know what? I don't want a drug to control my life. I don't want to be dependent on the drug. It's a horrible feeling when you know that you are dependent on the drug. I wish nobody in this room will have the same feeling, to be dependent on the drug. And I decided that no, I'm not going to be dependent on the drug. I don't want the drug to control my life. I don't want the drug to tell me to live or not. So I told the cardiologist that I'm not going to take it. And he said, okay, sign the refusal form, and you are on your own now. So to be on my own and not to take a blood thinner was not that great either, because I knew exactly with the regular heartbeats I can die because of the blood clot. So I needed to figure out immediately what was going on with me. So I realized first time in my life, as a medical doctor, I realized that probably it's not a great idea to treat the symptoms. I needed to go to the root cause of the problem to figure out why I had irregular heartbeats in the first place. Otherwise, since the only one life is to stay on the blood thinners, and who knows what will happen next. To be honest with you, I don't want even to think about it, because it was a horrible feeling. I didn't know whether it's going to be, will I survive for tomorrow, and I was thinking about, the most precious things in my life at the time. It was my daughter, so I called her, and I said that, I have a heart condition, and I don't know what will happen tomorrow. She was the teenager at the time, so she said, Dad, you're a doctor, you're supposed to know what to do. And I said, I don't know. It was a horrible feeling. So I was looking desperately for the root cause of my problem, and I couldn't find any. And then, the first glimmer of hope. A friend of mine who was in anti-aging medicine, he told me that, you know what, why don't you check your hormones? Maybe your hormones are out of whack. I didn't have anything to lose. So I checked my hormones, and of course my hormones were out of whack. So I fixed my hormones, and guess what happened? I got rid of irregular heartbeats, and I actually got my life back. So I thought that if bioidentical hormones were good for me, maybe I can treat my patients with bioidentical hormones. And I started incorporating bioidentical hormones in my practice. Basically, it was not all about bioidentical hormones. I learned new way of managing health problems, to look for the root cause, find the root cause, and treat the root cause instead of treating symptoms. That's what I started to apply in my medical practice. And I remember for one of the patients, the first patients I started treating with bioidentical hormones, she came to see me. It was late. I remember it was in my old office, and she was sitting in front of me. And she didn't say a word. I just noticed tears coming out of her eyes. And I asked her what happened. And she said, Doc, you probably don't know, but it's a horrible feeling when you don't know how you're going to pay for the rent next month. And I said, what are you talking about? I knew she was employed. And she said, yes, I am employed, but because of my mood swings, my manager told me that he's going to fire me. And she had a teenager son, she had a boyfriend, And I said that maybe your boyfriend will help you. And she said, no, because my boyfriend is going to leave me because of my hot flashes. I'm always hot and I'm wet and he can't sleep with me and I'm always dry. I'm not in the mood. And she said that he's going to leave me. She didn't say words, just tears were coming out of her. So I said, just, what did you do about this? And she said that I went to my primary care physician and I was told that I'm going through the just normal, so-called normal process called menopause. And she was given sleeping pills and advised to go and see a psychiatrist. But she, as me, she didn't want a drug to control her life. She didn't want to take sleeping pills. She didn't want to go to psychiatry because she thought she was normal. And she didn't want to accept. She was horrified that her body, that she was taking care of very good during her whole life, betrayed her. It was a horrible feeling. I know that when your body betrays you, it's horrible. But she didn't want the drug to control her life either. So I didn't want to, the first seconds I really didn't know what to do because I thought maybe she really needs to see a psychiatrist, maybe she really needs to get some sleeping pills. And then, a thought came to my mind, hot flashes, night sweats. Hot flashes, night sweats, mood swings. Dry, no sex drive. Maybe we're just dealing with the menopause. And I told her, you know what? I understand that you don't want a drug to control your life. How about the hormones which are identical to your own hormones? It's not actually a drug. It's a hormone which is chemically identical to your own. And she said, what are you talking about? And I said that, you have a choice. Not necessarily you need to take synthetic stuff. You can take the hormones which are chemically identical to your own, basically identical to your own hormones. And she said, what is the advantage of this? And I said that because hormones are bioidentical to our own, so our body knows what to do with it. And she said, I like this idea. Maybe you should try. And we tried bioidentical hormones. And listen, there are no miracles. There is no drug or natural substance that do miracles. No. By little, step by step, we worked with her for quite a while to get rid of at least more troubling symptoms from mood swings, because it's horrible. She was working as a secretary, and she is working as a secretary in a hospital. She dealt with a lot of people, and if there is mood swings are coming and going, it is not possible to deal with the customers. I don't know anybody dealt with this situation, but it's horrible. I have a patient of mine, she's a business owner, and she can't do business because of the very simple things. Hot flashes come, she can't sing. Hot flashes come, she is the CEO of the company. Not big company, but small, like a few 20, 30 employees, something like that. But the point is, actually, I spoke to her a few days ago, and she said, Doc, you don't know what it is. When hot flash come, you can't think, you can't understand, you can't manage your business, you cannot manage your life. And I believe this. So little by little, step by step, by adjusting the dose, by trials and errors, we managed actually to get rid of, we managed to help her, and she got rid of the most troubling symptoms. And the result was obvious. She kept her job. She did lose her boyfriend, yes, but he got a new one. Okay, and her son just finished the school. She actually got a new apartment, and actually she got her life back. So the point here is that actually, if we want to really get our lives back, you, me, or whoever, you can't treat the symptoms. You need to go to the root cause of the problem and fix the root cause, especially if somebody has hormonal imbalance or some kind of unexplained fatigue, dizziness, mood swings, anxiety, depression, etc. And the options are not necessarily drugs. You can go natural, especially with bioidentical hormone replacement, etc. And bioidentical hormones are chemically identical to our own hormones. That's why our body knows what to do with this. There is a huge advantage because of the very simple thing. As soon as somebody takes a synthetic hormone, the results are actually unpredictable for men and for women. For women, there is a problem because the estrogen given, or progestin so-called, our body doesn't know what to do with the synthetic stuff. And instead of, because everything needs to be cleared. Like you have an apartment, you have a house, you clean your house, you need to clean your apartment. The same thing you need to do with your body. And hormones needs to be cleared out because otherwise your body starts piling it up. That's not a good idea. So if the hormone is chemically identical to our hormones, our body knows what to do. If not, then there is a problem because actually for the synthetic stuff, for the synthetic hormones is proven many times that our body creates byproducts which are actually dangerous and can promote cancer. That's why what we do in our office, we check there is a special test which helps us to determine if a woman can handle estrogen. Men, unfortunately, are not exception. I had a patient of mine who came to me with the very strange complaint. He couldn't sleep, he couldn't do anything. He was an accountant. And the reason was, you can't even imagine what it was. The guy was doing, he wanted to enhance his abilities, and he got testosterone injections. Testosterone injections, and he got it to the extent that he developed the condition so-called steroid psychosis. He couldn't sleep, he became agitated, he ended up in the emergency room. But the problem with that was they couldn't even figure out what was going on because the byproducts were not detected in the blood. So the blood tests actually came back negative the first time. We had some other ways to figure out what it was. So the hormones, especially steroids like sex hormones, they can play so many so many things with the human beings, can't even imagine what can happen. That's why the idea to use hormones that are chemically identical, it's much more attractive than the using synthetic hormones. But the point is bioidentical hormones are only just one of the ways to solve the problem. But once again, what I believe in is just instead of treating the symptoms, just you need to go to look for the root cause of the problem and treat the root cause. Now the question is for the hormones. Is it really a good idea to cheat nature? Because the next question, is it really safe? Are we doing the right thing? Is menopause or andropause need to be treated? If it's natural, how come we should play with this? So I started looking at this question because patients, first of all, I'm not young, as you can see. So I'm going through andropause myself. So I was kind of involved in that. I need to answer for not only for my patients, but for myself. Is it really necessary? Is it really the right way to go? Because basically, by giving bioidentical hormones, what we are doing, we are cheating nature. We are giving our body a signal that we are still young. That's basically it. Because, look, let me give you a very simple example. When do we start, you, me, everybody, start having the heart issues? Nobody has heart issues when they were young. Almost nobody. There is a few exceptions, of course, but most of the people, they don't have high blood pressure when they are young. They don't have that much cancer when they are young. They don't have heart attacks when they are young. You know, when a woman comes to emergency room with the chest pain, and cardiologist is called, do you know what the first question is? Do you have periods? That's what they ask. Because of the very simple reason. Because if a woman has her periods, it means that the probability of heart disease is extremely low. And nobody is going to do the angiogram or anything like that, because that's just almost impossible. If a woman doesn't have her periods, the probability of a heart attack is quite high. That's why in this case, cardiologist will order a few tests, a stress test, angiogram, etc., because of a very simple thing, hormones. Because by knowing if a woman has periods or not, basically it's a very simple way to figure out what her hormonal status is. And that's what they are doing every single day. So the point is that when a woman comes with a, God forbid, with a heart attack, so if we actually look for the root cause, maybe it's not exactly cholesterol or high blood pressure or whatever it is. Maybe it's her hormones. Now, while working in the hospital, I was doing a medical clearance for the surgery many, many times. And I was doing many clearances for women who just fell down and broke their hips. Very common condition in elderly women. And guess what? Do you know how dangerous it is? Do you know how many women die because of the very simple thing, just hip fracture? Because of the very simple thing. They need to go to the surgery, which is quite extensive. They can't walk. They have blood clots. They have decubiti. Because I saw it so many times, you know, you can't even imagine. But the question is, why do women have hip fractures? And the answer is because of weak bones. This condition is called osteoporosis. But the next question is, why do women have osteoporosis? And the answer is clear, because they don't have estrogen. So why don't we make it very simple and straightforward? You know, nobody even asks, and it just it tells people that they can die because of the hip fracture, because of the very simple thing, because of the lack of the estrogen. So now the question is, actually I was trying also, I'm always telling you, telling my patients that maybe we should rephrase the question. Instead of asking how dangerous or how not dangerous it is to give hormones, maybe the more pertinent question is, how dangerous is not to correct hormonal imbalance? Does it make sense to you? Yeah. And then I started questioning myself, does it really natural to have andropause and menopause? Well, first of all, the age of menopause differs from country to country. For example, in India it's 44 years. In the United States it's 51. So if it's natural, how comes so much difference? Right? The second thing is that it is a very well-known fact. There is no such thing as menopause or andropause in the animal kingdom, except one condition: for animals in captivity. Mm-hmm. Animals in captivity. So as soon as an animal is captured and kept in a cage, then they develop andropause and menopause. So my question is, maybe our women have menopause because they felt like they're in captivity? No, I'm not. Listen, you think I'm joking. I'm not. No, I'm not. So basically, you know, I was trying to put everything together, and I started to, I came to the conclusion, listen, I'm not God, and I don't want even to pretend that I know everything. No, I don't know everything, but I have my experience, I have some observations, I have my own body, and what I believe that we can do a lot to change the situation. And I'm not really sure that having menopause at age 50 or having andropause at age 60, is that really natural, and we have to go through this? Because, you know, according to the Bible, the first man on earth was Adam, and he lived about 600 years, something like that. Eve, the first woman, the Bible doesn't tell exactly how many years, but approximately they believe it's about 400 years. That's what the Bible says. So I was thinking that maybe it's just a legend and has nothing to do with the reality. But let me give you another fact, which is also very well known. When a woman is born, any woman, she has about 1 million eggs in their ovaries. 1 million. Guess how many eggs an average woman uses during her reproductive years? Well, 300 to 400. So why so huge difference? Is Mother Nature is that stupid to put 1 million eggs if only 400 will be used? Or maybe Mother Nature intends our women to live much longer and to be reproductive, have much more reproductive years. Does it make sense to you? Listen, at least I can tell that there is no clear-cut explanation why so much difference. That's why, based on what I'm saying, is I do not believe that the right approach is just to ignore hormonal imbalance. And what I do in my office, I just go, I address the root cause of the problem instead of just treating the symptoms. This process is not always easy. Sometimes it's difficult. Let me give you a very quick example. I had a patient of mine who came with headaches, excruciating headaches. She couldn't think, she couldn't work, she couldn't have sex, she couldn't do anything. And she thought she had a hormonal imbalance. She was in her menopause. So the last neurologist she saw in the city, he said that you need to see the doctor who can correct her hormonal. She came to see me, we corrected her hormonal imbalance. Guess what? Nothing happened. She was still having headaches. So the next step was we checked her for toxicity. She found that she had some increased levels of her heavy metals. We detoxified her. Guess what happened? Nothing. So we thought maybe we are dealing with autoimmune problems and gastrointestinal problems. We corrected these problems. Guess what? Nothing happened. I was almost desperate. And then the first, sign of hope. She went to another continent for a business trip. When she came back, she said, "It's weird. I didn't have any headaches over there." Immediately, I realized it was a sinus issue. Actually, it turned out to be her polyps in her sinuses that prevented sinuses from draining. She went to surgery. She got her life back. Okay? Very simple. But it took me quite a while to figure out what it is. What I'm trying to tell you, there are no miracles. But what I do, I address the root cause of the problem instead of just... When somebody comes with, like that lady, she came, could have given her painkillers and made her feel better. No, I didn't do that. Actually, I figured out what was the root cause, treated the root cause, and treated the root cause. That's why when a patient comes to my office, I do for history, physical. I'm an old-fashioned guy. I don't, just rely too much on the numbers. I don't treat numbers. I treat human beings. That's why I more trust what my patients are telling me, what I hear with my stethoscope, what I observe, rather than the test results. So I do history, physical. Then, based on my clinical impression, I decide what test needs to be done. And we employ the best labs in the United States, and we address the root cause of the problem. Not just we don't treat symptoms. And bioidentical hormones are a very big part of it. That's why the bottom line is simple. If somebody has, or you, somebody who is in this room, or whoever has an unexplained fatigue, or maybe blood swings, or anxiety, depression, or some kind of unresolved chronic health issue, the person can benefit from a new way to solve health issues, to address and treat the root cause of the problem, including bioidentical hormones, detoxification, and nutrition. Thank you very much. And any questions? Yes?
How is it applied?
What's that?
How do you apply a hormone? What are you made of? How do you apply it?
The hormones, it depends on the situation. Every patient is different. There is no miracle treatments. There is no miracle pills. And hormones we use, it's quite different ways. It can, most of the time, we use creams. And the reason that's because you can adjust the dose very easily. Because nobody requires the same dose of hormones every single day, the same dose. It doesn't happen. You know? That's why when the patient applies creams to his skin, he can manage it. He can change the dose according to his experience, the timing, in the morning, in the evening. Some people, they require pills with the bioidentical hormone. Why? Because pills, they work a little bit differently than creams. And if I want to, it's just what I want to achieve. If I want to achieve the, in general, if I want to achieve more strength, more energy, then we go with pills, with the creams. But if you want more to control the mood and just calm down to improve sleep, we go with the, I prescribe creams and pills. Sometimes it's injections. I don't do pellets, and the reason for that is because, listen, I don't know everything, but I'm telling you my opinion. The problem with the pellets is that as soon as they are inserted, you can't really play with the dose, okay? And the effect usually wanes over the time. That's what we don't want. And supposedly, somebody has a very busy schedule that works for 5 days. And he goes with his wife or girlfriend somewhere to the, for the weekend. Of course, he wants to put some more hormones, you know, when he goes with his girlfriend or with his wife, right? And he doesn't want it to you know, when he is going to do his 9 to 5 job, because he doesn't want to chase every woman within the next 5 years.
They are not synthetic, they are natural hormones?
No, it's not synthetic. I don't use synthetic.
So what kind of the hormones they are? They are obtained from what? From plants? From...
It depends. It depends. For men, some of hormones, and most, well, actually, I love those hormones. They are made from natural sources. Natural sources. The hormone I like the most is HCG. No, one of the hormones. It's made from the women's urine. Yeah, that's totally natural, 100%. The rest of the hormones are usually plant-based, and as soon as they get the molecules, they modify it in the lab.
Like testosterone?
Yes, but not the hormone, not the testosterone synthetic one, which natural, yes, yeah, which is chemically identical to our own testosterone. Yeah, chemically, that's the whole point. And the reason for that is because, see, what the question when I started using bioidentical hormones, why nobody knows about that, and it's not in the guidelines, it's not in the textbooks. They don't mention it. And I couldn't figure it out why. And I was thinking that maybe they're very expensive. So I called the pharmacy and asked, what is the monthly price for the bioidentical hormones? Guess what? It's about $60, $70, $90 a month for the testosterone or estrogen. It's very cheap. In comparison with the synthetic drugs, it's much cheaper. So I couldn't figure it out. I thought that maybe it's safety issues, no? No. Not at all.
Drug company.
Exactly. And the reason how I figured out was very interesting. You know, in doctor's office, the drug reps come, you know, sell the, you know, like Lipitor, we call them drug dealers. No, they're not called the strict drugs, but they're selling Lipitor. You know. So the guy came to me, and they usually bring samples for free. Okay, so I asked, okay, I will take the samples, and do you guys carry bioidentical hormones? The guy looked at me. No. And I said, why? Don't you know, Doug, that they are natural, and according to United States laws, they cannot be patented? No patent, no money. That was it. That was the reason. But listen, I ask myself, I'm not on a payroll on pharmaceutical companies. I don't own shares of pharmaceutical companies. Why should I care for their profits? What I should care is for the well-being of my patients. I was actually, I gave myself a word, a promise, that I will never, ever use synthetic hormones for women. You know how it happened? I lived in a building in Ukraine, and I next, just very close to me, there was a neighbor, I think she was 28-year-old girl or something, and she was taking birth control pills. She died because of the blood clots.
Because of the what?
Blood clots.
Oh, blood.
Yeah. Since then, I just made a promise that I'm not going to write a prescription for synthetic hormones under no circumstances. Unfortunately, I'm not perfect. I did break my promise once. I did write it for a woman, but it was kind of desperate. I still cannot forgive myself for doing this. I'm not perfect.
They say I'm a bodybuilder, right? And I decide to change to get synthetic testosterone and go with you and get natural testosterone. My question is, I'm going to have the same effect like synthetic ones, or better without the side effects? Or?
I can't answer your question, and the reason for that is because I'm not specializing in bodybuilding. I don't know anything about it.
Sports.
No. No, we don't do it. What we do is that just, first of all, see, I have no knowledge about that. And I can't really, I don't do that. What I have heard and what I have seen is those guys, I don't want to say anything bad, but there are two problems. First, they get extremely high levels of hormones. And you can't even imagine how dangerous it is. There is, you can't get a powerful medication or powerful hormone and then don't have side effects. That's not just possible. So first, you know what they say? Do no harm first. So as soon as, the same thing is for hormones. Hormones are very powerful. As soon as you don't know or you're doing something wrong, you're in a deep, deep, deep trouble. Testosterone. What I dealt with, and it's not with my patients, but I had some experience with that. It's the same thing I told you. The guy was doing testosterone. They bought it somewhere, I don't want to tell you where. They ejected it. The problem was that there was that testosterone, because of some reasons, was not detectable in the blood. Well, that's why when the guy ended up in the emergency room, they couldn't figure out what it was. Later on, we figured out it was steroid psychosis. As soon as somebody takes steroids, it affects the brain. They start thinking differently. They cannot make rational decisions. Let me give you a very simple example. Supposedly, I'm trying to cross the road, and there is a car approaching very fast. What I do, I just run. I can't think, I can't figure out what the model of the car is. I don't know what the speed. I just need to jump and save my life. Because of the very simple reason, because as soon as I'm in danger, there is a lot of cortisol pumping out, and steroids affect my brain. It shuts down everything except one. Just jump and save your life. That's it. That's why if steroids, especially sex hormones, go up, they affect, and the people, they cannot make rational decisions. The guy ended up in the emergency room because he became agitated. He was in the counter, do anything. Ended up in the emergency room, he couldn't sleep. Gradually, that testosterone was cleared, and there was no proof. Nobody could figure out what it is. Second, what I dealt with is the side effects of testosterone in terms of red blood cells. Testosterone has a tendency to increase the red cell numbers. And this is extremely dangerous because it can cause the problem with the circulation in the brain, especially because those guys who take a lot of testosterone, they are prone to sleep apnea because it is big. They stop breathing, red blood cell count is high. It's no good, believe me. So whoever...
Synthetics, though.
You talked about
No,
synthetics.
no, everything, yes. Yeah, nothing, yeah, there is, listen, there is, once again, steroids, hormones, even natural. Nothing is perfect. Don't think that, you take, or you or my patients or me, they take natural stuff, it's totally safe.
Because the doctor, they give it to you for sex, right?
No, I understand.
Testosterone.
I understand. But once again, nothing is really safe. If you take a pill over the counter, a supplement, very benign, do not think that it's really that safe. Let me give you an example. A patient came to see me because she couldn't sleep for half a year. She went to different specialists. It was a kind of puzzle. She thought she had hormonal imbalance. We fixed her hormonal imbalance, guess nothing happened. So we did a special test for the sleep. There is a test, we check the hormones, just neurotransmitters like serotonin, all this stuff. When the test results came back, what I saw, I just couldn't believe what I saw. Because of the very simple reason. For the sleep, there is a hormone which is responsible for the sleep. It's called melatonin. Right? Mm-hmm. So it's a common belief, and it's true, that whoever cannot sleep, they are lacking melatonin. Guess what was on the test? Melatonin was sky high proof. The side effect of high melatonin is insomnia. I couldn't figure it out why she had so high levels of melatonin. I thought it was a tumor. Fortunately for her, no, there was no tumor. And I was desperate. Yeah. She was taking huge amounts of melatonin over the counter without telling anybody. Because she thought that it would help with sleep. And she actually was overdosed with a so benign melatonin. Yeah. That was the reason. That's why my point is, if you are getting a power stuff, it cannot be 100% safe. No. But you need to keep an eye on it. First of all, we need to figure out, is it safe? Do no harm first. You know that? No harm. That's why what we do, we figure out first if it's safe. We check for if we give hormones, is it safe for a woman? Is it cannot promote cancer? It cannot promote cancer. What we need to do, we fix it, and we monitor the levels. Because levels are going up and down. It's not something you give and you forget about it. No, it goes up and down. Once again, what we do is just we specialize in finding the root cause of the problem, address the root cause. But the road to this is sometimes it's not that easy. All right. Thank you very much, and see you then.